2012 was one of the biggest years for RPG Maker horror games. The Witch's House, The Crooked Man, and Mad Father all came out that year, and I've made videos talking about all three. But there's one more infamous RPG Maker horror game from this era, Ebe. Now before a war starts in the comments below, yes, it's pronounced Ebe. When you go to the official translator's website, this pronunciation is literally the first piece of text on the page. Because I started with the Steam release of this game, you'll probably hear some clips of me saying Ib instead. Feel free to call me a fake fan and threaten me with bodily harm in the comments for saying a word improperly. Let's take a look at the translator's description of the game. A young girl named Ebe visits an art gallery with her parents. While observing the many exhibits, she suddenly realizes that she is alone, and in her search for others, she finds things awry in the gallery. This isn't terribly descriptive, but it's definitely intriguing enough to get me interested. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. Game, come on, please let me? For some reason, Ebe refused to let me record the game audio, no matter what I tried, meaning I had to stop playing the remastered version of the game on Steam and instead pick up a copy of the original freeware version. This came with a visual downgrade, but it's unfortunately the only way that I can properly record the game. We begin seeing Ebe being taken to an art gallery by her parents. Wow, that's a horrible font. Oh, do you have your handkerchief? You know, the one you got for your birthday? Keep it safe in your pocket, okay? Don't lose it. Oh, no, don't loge it. Don't Logil! This is the entire... Are you kidding me?
Oh, no.
I have to read this messed up font for the entire game?
You know what they say, the human brain, if it has enough letters, it can extrapolate what word it is.
This looks like it says Fergal Lime in an oral gallery.
I didn't even think about it like that.
As it turns out, it was absolutely a mistake. The game does not come installed with the correct font, meaning I had to research which font was intended, find it online, and install it, all just to play this decade-old game. After 20 minutes of recording, the game was finally playable. We learned that the art gallery Ebe is visiting currently features an exhibition of works created by an artist named Guertena. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, I can't figure out how to say it. Ebe wanders off on her own to explore the gallery while her parents get some information at the front desk. One of my favorite things about this game is how it handles Ebe's young age. Because she's just a child, many of the plaques and descriptions scattered throughout the gallery will have missing words that are replaced with several question marks. This is because Ebe doesn't know these words yet. She's so young that these words just aren't in her vocabulary. I love how they handled this. It even comes into play during some character interactions later on. On the second floor of the gallery, Ebe passes a man with tattered clothes and purple hair who stands out like a sore thumb. I'm sure we will never see him again. As Ebe keeps exploring, she finds a large painting with a title she can't read. The lights flicker and the background music halts. All the other gallery patrons have mysteriously vanished. As Ebe heads back to the first floor, the entire building becomes shrouded in darkness. Muffled footsteps can be heard in nearby hallways, and some of the paintings come to life. Examining a paint splotch on the wall underneath the large painting reveals a message beckoning Ebe to the first floor. Since the front door is locked, Ebe continues to explore this area, locating some blue footprints leading into a painting of an ocean monster on the floor. Ebe steps inside, finding herself in a mysterious new world. This is a wonderfully executed setup. It doesn't take long to get into the thick of it, and the spooks start before you even enter the artwork. The idea of being a 9-year-old in a dark art gallery where people are slamming on the windows and paintings are moving is absolutely terrifying. As Ebe ventures further into this world, the stairs leading back to the gallery disappear. She finds a rose nearby that acts as a health bar. If Ebe is hurt, so is the rose. If the rose is hurt, so is Ebe. This creepy painting on the wall partially explains it, although Ebe can't make out all of the words. To replenish health, the rose can be placed into vases full of water. As Ebe walks away, red letters stamp onto the walls and floor, calling her a thief. Probably because she took the rose. This rose is clearly connected to Ebe, so I'm not sure I would classify her as a thief. I would, however, classify data brokers as thieves. They steal and sell your browsing habits, email address, phone number, or even your home address, making money by selling that information to others, which is incredibly scummy. Online safety is really important to me. I have a degree in cybersecurity, and I'm working towards a second right now. That's one of the reasons I'm excited to announce that this video has been sponsored by Incogni. Even though your information is out there, you have the legal right to have data brokers delete the information they've collected on you. Unfortunately, this is really time-consuming to do manually. manually. It can take years. Thankfully, with Incogni, you can make quick work of this. After only 2 days of using Incogni, it identified my data from 165 different sources and successfully had it removed from 79. They even let you see a detailed view of each company that had your data, what the company does, and how high of a security threat each one poses. It's super helpful to be able to see all the in-progress requests and how long it takes to remove your data from that source on average. Within 24 hours, I was getting emails from companies confirming that they complied with my request to exercise my privacy rights. Incogni is always checking for your information, meaning every new data broker that appears will quickly be stopped from selling that info. Incogni removes you from the data broker sales loop and keeps you safe from it. This service is really important to me, and not just because I'm sick and tired of getting spam messages all the time. As a faceless creator, privacy is kind of my whole thing. I make content under an alias and live a normal life outside of it. With people selling my personal data, that privacy is severely threatened. I don't want people online knowing my name, address, SSN, or any other private information, and I'm sure you don't want that to happen to you either. Protect yourself and your privacy. Go to incogni.com/benagain and use code benagain to get an exclusive offer of 60% off an annual plan. That's an absolutely amazing discount for an invaluable service. That's incogni.com/benagain using code benagain. Stay safe out there. Each room is a different color and requires a key to move on. The next room is green and full of several arms sprouting from the walls. After using a painting to clear a gap and steal another key, Eve enters a yellow room with a fish-shaped hole in the wall. To get the fish-shaped key, Eve has to trick this sentient statue into destroying itself and beat a stick figure at hide and seek. I ended up breaking the statue on accident and scaring myself pretty badly by trying to juke it in this corner. It ran into this crack and shattered, scaring me so badly that I hit pause and thought I had died. The hide and seek game is purely luck-based. The stick figure hides and you have to search behind these curtains to find it. There are tons of different effects depending on what you find, like the lights going out or this hand appearing on the screen. You're here. Nudity! One of the things you can find is this sinister painting that can actually help determine what ending of the game you get. Eve has a total of 7 different endings, with there being 10 if you count variations. The game is only about 2 hours long, but this means you can spend over 20 hours to get every ending if you don't strategically place your saves. There's a complex system that helps determine each ending, which I'll explain as we get closer. Because this game is so short, I won't be leaving a formal spoiler warning as the video goes on. If you have any interest in playing it for yourself as you watch the video, please pause and pick up a copy for yourself. The next area requires you to find several different parts of a code by examining weird objects. My personal favorite is this liar's room, where each of these 6 portraits gives you instructions. It's a basic logic puzzle where only one statement doesn't contradict the others. After following the correct instructions to get the last part of the code, the lying paintings brutally murder the truthful one. Putting in this code earns us a wooden apple that we can feed to this weird mouth wall before it vores us into the next location. Oh boy. I love this next room. It has several sequential paintings of a guillotine being raised into the air. As soon as you approach the final painting, a guillotine blade will drop from the ceiling and attempt to kill you if you don't dodge in time. The next area is red, and it's swarming with paintings that will fling themselves off of the walls to attack Ebe. One locked door is surrounded by bookshelves, with a nearby picture being the key to unlocking it. Ebe can either push the book into the shelf to unlock the door, or she can read it and the horrors within. Allow me to recount the tale. The book tells the story of a little girl whose friends bake her a special birthday pie. A coin is hidden in one of the slices, with the person who eats said slice being blessed with happiness. The girl eats the slice with the coin and accidentally swallows it. With everyone done eating, the friend that baked the pie takes the plate to the kitchen, being stopped by their mother, who asks about the key to their study. Normally it's on a table next to the door, but all that's sitting there is a single coin. Realizing that they accidentally put the key into the pie instead of the coin, the child grabs the knife from the pie plate and cuts open the birthday girl's stomach to retrieve it. Now that she's been thoroughly traumatized, Ebe can head through the door. This area has 2 wings. The east has the purple-haired man from earlier passed out on the ground while holding a key, and the west has a door that key can be used on. Another living painting is tearing a blue rose apart behind the door. Ebe grabs it and heals it in water before returning to the injured man. This blue rose belongs to him, and it's tailored to his health, just like Ebe's. His name is Gary, and he's a total dork. He and Ebe decide to stick together and try to escape this place. I really like Gary. He's a young adult that is clearly concerned for this little girl's safety in a really dangerous place. He tries to give off this air of maturity and strength, but it tends to falter. I appreciate how hard he tries to keep Ebe safe, which is something that we'll see more and more as time goes on. This next area is a good example of my one major issue regarding this game. Ebe is the type of puzzle game that forces you to do the entire puzzle every single time, even on repeat playthroughs. Here, Gary and Ebe have to find some eye drops, use it on this creepy floor eyeball to reveal a hidden passage with a gem in it, then stick that gem into a painting to reveal a hint for where the next key item is. If you're on a repeat playthrough trying to meet different ending requirements, you can't just go to the place that the hint indicates. The next item doesn't spawn until you've seen the hint. I've never been a fan of when games do this. Sure, it prevents the accidental solving of puzzles, but I don't think it's worth making repeat playthroughs more tedious, especially with so many different endings. Something I learned by exploring this area is that Gary will happily teach Ebe words that she doesn't know. This removes the question marks from text when he's in the party. The next area has several locked rooms with codes hidden in paintings and whatnot. I like this one because the code can be read differently depending on whether you read it upside down, which is a clever little puzzle. As more puzzles get solved, more paintings will come to life, and more of these weird mannequin heads will materialize in creepy places. This contributes to one of the puzzles where a door asks you how many paintings are in the room. You have to count the ones trying to kill you, too. One of the rooms in this area contains a mirror that, when examined, will reveal a mannequin head on Gary's shoulder. This is where we start doing things that truly matter for the endings. In a fit of panic and rage, Gary will attempt to break the mannequin head. Ebe can choose to cover her eyes or calm him down. This can affect two different variables, the doom counter and your bond with Gary. The doom counter is an invisible meter that increases when certain actions take place. When Gary loses his temper or breaks art from the gallery, the doom counter will go up. There's also an invisible meter for Ebe's bond with Gary, which can be increased by talking to him frequently and calming him down when he's upset. The status of those two invisible meters will alter what ending you get. This is a fairly elaborate system for an RPG Maker game. It's genuinely impressive. I'm shocked people managed to find out how it worked, although I'm sure the English translator being able to go through the game's code was a big help. The one slightly unfortunate thing about this system is that it means you need to start a brand new game for almost every single ending instead of just placing a few strategic save slots. You can do it sometimes, but not as much as I would want. Because I couldn't do my normal preliminary ending research without spoiling myself, I went in completely blind for the first playthrough.
She's a scrambler, and look at her go. She is the, video game equivalent of going, nyeh, 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 nyeh.
After pissing myself, I was able to use a key to unlock this room with a painting of Ebe's parents on the wall. The door locks itself and we can hear enemies attempting to break in. I quickly realized that I should barricade this window, but for some reason you can only move a shelf in front of it before you discover that the room is locked. I don't really understand why it was programmed this way. It's punishing you for not predicting the future instead of rewarding you for reacting quickly. The paintings break in and you need to find an open door to hide in while praying you won't be cornered. Once you know where to go, this is pretty easy, but it's definitely a challenge to stay alive while trying to find the correct location. After escaping, Ebe passes out on the floor. Gary carries her to a nearby room where she has a nightmare about being attacked in the gallery without any means of escape. You can increase your bond with Gary here by returning his coat and taking time to speak with him before leaving the safety of the room. The next area is purple and is full of very fun books. What?
Oh my god.
Erotica?
It is.
Oh my god.
I love interactions like this. It really makes me appreciate Gary. After following some suspicious footprints to an unlocked door, Gary and Ebe run into a girl named Mary who has a yellow rose. Mary also has an invisible bond meter, just like Gary. Our party size increases to 3, with Gary determined to get everyone out safely. Oh no, she's an airhead!
Yeah!
Oh no.
Our trio find a room full of bunny dolls surrounded by a large portrait of the same bunny. Mary and Ebe think they're adorable, but the room greatly disturbs Gary. On the way out, vines sprout from one of the paintings, trapping Gary alone. No!
No, Gary.
Don't leave me with her! Mary suggests that they search the next area in the hopes of finding something to free their friend with. She even grabs a surprise tool that'll help us later from this box, just as one of these mannequins blocks the exit. Now that we're more permanently separated, we can use these flower tiles to switch between playing as Ebe and Gary.
Oh.
He sees it differently. This is one of my favorite moments in the entire game. The idea that Gary and Ebe are seeing different things creates this cool tension, wondering what is real and what isn't. I love the idea of distrust building because our party members are literally seeing different things at the same time. Speaking of distrust, I do not trust Mary. As she and Ebe are walking from location to location, she just flat out asks, if only 2 of us could get out of here, who would you choose? That is some manipulation if I have ever seen it, and nobody's driving a wedge between me and Gare Bear. So stupid. I said I would surrender myself, prompting Mary to try and persuade me to leave with her instead. The puzzles in these two areas are connected to each other, meaning you have to switch back and forth regularly to find codes and exchange items. One of the coolest sections is this one right here where a room is filled to the brim with a toxic gas. Gary has to rush in, grab an umbrella, then pass it upwards to Eve on the second floor where she can give it to a painting that will summon rain. This leaks through the ceiling into an empty vase, giving Gary a place to heal halfway to the mechanism to dissipate the gas. This entire area is full of really fun puzzles like this. As Gary explores his half of the map, he discovers a book detailing the works of Guertena. He learns that the artist's final piece was a photorealistic work of a young girl, although she wasn't based on anyone in real life. The photo inside the book shows that the painting in question is of Mary. Mary's not a real person. She's another one of the living paintings, and Ebe is currently trapped all alone with her. From this point onward, switching to Ebe results in the party splitting even further. Mary no longer follows you around. She wanders about, saying and doing creepy things. You know that surprise tool that'll help us later? It's a palette knife that she uses to brutally stab one of the mannequin heads for being in her way. It's a bit odd to me that her personality would so drastically change as soon as Gary uncovered the truth, but before telling Ebe about the truth. Either way, I really like how creepy she gets. It's perfectly unsettling after the reveal. The last major task in this area falls on Gary's shoulders. He has to survive a room full of creepy dolls, with the key to his freedom being hidden in one of their stomachs. I got lucky by finding it on my second try, but if you take too long, a massive doll will crawl out of the painting and harm Gary. If you fail this room, 2 points are added to your doom meter. While Mary is preoccupied with her new habit of being a total creep, Ebe finds a key and begins to explore. Mary becomes agitated that Ebe left without her, moving to confront the girl before being stopped by Gary, who reveals her status as a painting. After he fights Mary off, Ebe hugs Gary and the two run to the next area, putting as much space as possible between themselves and the painting. Welcome to the sketchbook. This area looks like it was drawn using crayons, just like in the violent storybook from earlier. As Ebe and Gary search around, they quickly realize that Mary is following them. There's one major puzzle here, finding these icons scattered around the map and marking their locations in this room to get a key to a toy box. Completing this puzzle and opening the toy box results in some minor assault from Mary, who pushes them into the box Foster's home style. Ebe drops her rose upon landing, but Gary helps her find it as well as the key that they need to exit. Taking this key displeases the nearby enemies, causing them to beeline for the duo. They escape, finding that the room with the toy box has completely changed. The wall is covered in vines and yellow roses, which Gary burns down using a lighter. This infuriates Mary, who moves to kill them with the palette knife. Ebe only has 1 health, making this section really dangerous. Our duo sprint to the other side of the room, burning the painting that Mary escaped from and disintegrating her. Gary cuts his hand during this encounter, with Ebe offering her handkerchief to him to help him bandage the wound. With Mary dead, the duo is able to enter the final home in the sketchbook. The interior mirrors the gallery from the very beginning, meaning Ebe and Gary just need to reach the painting from the start of the game. Fabricated World. Gary hops through the painting, freeing himself from the painted world, but Ebe hesitates as her mother appears on the sidelines. She tells her daughter not to follow strangers and to come with her instead, but this isn't Ebe's mother. Remember the painting from earlier? There are fake versions of Ebe's parents roaming this world. Ebe vaults through the painting, following Gary to freedom. As she regains consciousness in the gallery, everything's back to normal. Ebe explores the place, stumbling upon a purple-haired man admiring a sculpture of a rose. He seems to know her name, surprising both of them since they've never met before. He apologizes for the confusion, moving to leave but stopping as he realizes he's holding a bloody handkerchief. How did he get this? And why is Ebe's name on it? The memories come flooding back. Both Ebe and Gary remember everything about their adventure through the fabricated world. Gary keeps the handkerchief, promising to clean it and return it to her someday. This ending is called Promise of Reunion, and it's considered to be the best ending of the game. I managed to get it just by playing the game normally, which I really like. Some RPG Maker games make it really difficult to get a good ending, but I appreciate that by just doing what seemed like the morally right thing, I was able to find something good. Since there are so many endings to this game, I won't be covering all of them. I'll be covering the first 3 that I managed to get. If you have any interest in trying the game for yourself, which I would highly recommend, please go grab a copy. The remaster is paid on Steam if you can afford it, but you can get the original version for free on VG Person's website. The next ending I'd like to cover is called A Painting's Demise. It requires you to have a low bond with Mary and to max out the doom meter. This means smashing heads, kicking dolls, and failing to escape the doll room. Mary and Ebe manage to break into Gary's half of the map, finding him a stuttering mess in the doll room. He's talking to someone who does not exist and is completely unresponsive. Ebe is so distressed by this that she refuses to leave Gary's side. Mary didn't connect with Ebe during this playthrough, so she decides to leave them alone and exit the fabricated world herself. As Mary emerges from the painting, the gallery seems different from before. Nobody is here and the front door is locked, just like when Ebe was first transported. The sculpture in the corner is of a yellow rose this time, and the lights are consistently getting dimmer and dimmer. Messages splatter the walls, telling Mary to come home. The windows outside are nothing but a red void. The gallery gets darker and darker, and more messages taunt her. The world turns black, and Mary begins to cry, begging for Ebe, Gary, and her father. This ending is very intriguing. I want to know more about why Mary was affected this way after leaving the fabricated world. I'm really shocked that Mary called out for Ebe and Gary during that ending. She seemed like she was just using them to escape, but this ending implies something a lot deeper, which I'm a really big fan of. The final ending I'm going to be covering today is called Together Forever. Here we need to get the doom counter halfway maxed out. When Ebe and Gary enter the toy box, Ebe isn't able to find her rose after dropping it. Once she and Gary grab the key to leave, it's revealed that Mary has the rose. She agrees to return it in exchange for Gary's, which he does without hesitation. This is a huge move for Gary, considering he knows she's a painting with malicious intent now. He put his life into Mary's hands, just so he could save Ebe. As they exit the toy box, Gary grows weaker and weaker. He asks Ebe to leave without him before slumping against the wall. Ebe takes the stairs, finding Mary plucking each and every petal from Gary's rose. She plucks the last one, killing him and leaving the building. Ebe follows, moving to the pink house with the gallery inside. Ebe returns to the real world with her memories wiped, just like before. As she descends the staircase, Ebe finds Mary talking to her mother and father. Their mother and father. This time, crossing the barrier wasn't an issue. It seems that with one person missing in the real world, Mary was free to take the empty slot. She was reborn into this world as Ebe's sister, where she will live with the family as a normal girl. This ending is absolutely tragic. Ebe has to live with her friend's murderer without being able to remember what happened to Gary. I really loved Gary's characterization here. He cared so much about saving a little girl that he barely knew, that he would sacrifice his own life to allow her to live a more full one. It makes his loss even more saddening. I absolutely loved Ebe. For such a short game, they managed to develop the main cast an impressive amount. Ebe, Gary, and Mary are all absolutely fascinating characters, and they can change so much depending on your own actions. The puzzles in this game were great. They had a really good difficulty balance. You actually had to sit down and think about what to do, but it wasn't something so difficult that you could get stuck. It's definitely a little bit on the easier end for a puzzle game like this, but it still achieves a fairly good balance. I really wish I was able to play the remaster since the visuals in the free version were already charming. Getting an updated version would be great, and I would absolutely recommend you pick up the remaster if you aren't going to be recording it. Overall, I understand why so many people have been demanding that I play this game over the course of the last year. It's charming, dark, yet wholesome depending on your actions. I really like a game with a moral system, and this game definitely ticks that box. I plan to replay it as soon as possible with a guide pulled up so I can try out every single ending in my free time. I hope to see you all again. Have a great rest of your day.